Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's Community Venue Learning Series. These are free webinars to empower, equip, and encourage those involved in community venues. A warm welcome to those who are new and those who are returning and those who are watching this after the fact. My name is Shana Graham. I'm part of the marketing team at SpacetoCo. SpacetoCo's mission is to help make communities more sustainable, drive growth into local economies, and facilitate community connection, primarily through efficient venue bookings and two-sided marketplace. We work with heaps of community venues across Australia and New Zealand, and have found that we needed to connect everyone and talk about topics that are unique to community venues. So the Community Venue Learning Series was born. And this month's webinar is very exciting, personally, and very interesting. It's a hot topic at the moment. You might have heard of this thing called artificial intelligence. And you might be wondering, with all this talk with AI, if it has a place in community venues. Luckily, we have SpacetoCo's managing director and our fearless marketing leader, Elle Bell, to give us insights, tips, and tricks on how to use AI to better serve your community mission. I'm pretty excited because we've actually talked a lot about it at home. We were just talking before with Elle. It seemed quite scary, but might not be as scary as we think. So before we get into this session, we'll just have a look at the agenda. So just a little welcome, and then we've got an icebreaker, and then we'll hand it over to Elle. After that, if we have time, we'll do a bit of Q&A. So if you guys have any questions at all, at the bottom right of your screen, there's a chat button. It's got a little kind of speech bubble. If you click that, just type in whatever questions you have. I've got our colleague Carmela Macalio, who actually runs these, but she's just lost her voice. So I'm emceeing today. She'll be, and I'll be also answering these questions, and we'll pass it on to Elle. And then we'll wrap it up. But for now, let's do a little bit of an icebreaker. So in the chat box, if you could type in your name, where you're based, and what community venue you're representing, and let us know what experience you have of using AI. Have you used ChatGPT? Have you used any other artificial intelligent websites or apps? And also, what are you hoping to get out of this session? Personally, for me, I have used ChatGPT, and it's actually quite it's insane. And I'm actually hoping to see how it will help, I guess, save time and save, I don't know, make your workflow a little bit more streamlined and that kind of thing. Yeah, I'll look at you.
I've been on a bit of a journey with it because I can kind of remember when something kind of comes into your sphere of consciousness. I'd obviously heard of AI before, but there was a real kind of explosion of it when ChatGPT launched, and it was like coming up in every conversation. And outside of SpacetoCo, I do quite a lot of creative stuff, so I write sketch and script writing and that kind of thing. And people were telling me that they were using ChatGPT to generate a whole script, and I was like, surely human creativity is like the one thing that AI can't do. That's the safe stuff. And then yeah. So I think my initial response was kind of fear, but I think I've definitely shifted, and hence why I'm running this session, because I'm hoping to convince you that it's not necessarily as scary as we think, and it's not going to replace us all, and there's loads we can do with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember when we met up, because Elle is our marketing director, and Carmela, myself, and Elle met up, and we were like, what do we do with ChatGPT? And you said something about if it's for people, it should be by people, like kind of writing and stuff, but maybe ChatGPT can be an aid for that. So we've got a few people in the chat. Keep writing up on the chat. Everyone would love to meet you and see who's on this session. So we've got Carmela from SpacetoCo. She's used ChatGPT to help improve wording and expand writing. So super helpful. Hello, Cheryl from the city of Kalamunda. She's also started using ChatGPT. She's a facility bookings officer for all community hall hire. And hello to Roslyn from Sussex Street, working in Belmont Hub. She hasn't used AI, don't understand it, but would like to understand it further so I can be informed if I do use it. And hello to Jack from City of Canning, Recreation and Leisure Business Development Officer. He's familiar with ChatGPT, but would like to learn more about SpacetoCo's product for our halls and facilities. Oh, that's cool. We could talk about that too after, Elle. Awesome. Well, I might move on, but everyone else in the chat, please do introduce yourself. It's really cool. This kind of thing is meant to connect everybody, so it's really great to see who's here. So just as I mentioned, we've got Elle from SpacetoCo delivering this presentation. She is the managing director of SpacetoCo, as well as our marketing director. And like she mentioned, she's also very involved in the arts and community initiatives, which makes her the perfect kind of person for SpacetoCo. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about it all, and I'll pass it over to Elle.
Thank you, Shana, and hello and welcome to everyone on the call. I've been thinking about this topic for a while, and I actually had heaps of fun researching it and trying out lots and lots of different free tools to see which I felt could be most useful to those people working in community venues. So my goal on this call is basically, I think I've got like 21 hacks that I found that I'm going to try and demo to you on this call. So I am going to go quite fast, but the recording is going to be available afterwards. So you can always go back to it and kind of like pause and slow down. And I can happily share any of the, I've got a little sheet that I'm using for all the prompts. Yeah, if I'm going too fast or if you have any questions, please just drop them on the chat and I'm happy to dive in further. And I'd also just love to hear your feedback to the hack. So if there's one that you really love and you think is going to be useful, like send us some emojis on the chat, or if you think, oh God, we just never use that, then give us that feedback too. That would be really helpful. So before I dive too much into just demoing some stuff, so what is AI? And this actually, when I was looking at definitions, this actually surprised me because I kind of thought it was all, machine learning-y type things, but actually it's any system that can perform something that would normally require human intelligence. So reasoning, problem solving, decision making, and language comprehension, which kind of means that it's quite broad. And Shana and I spoke a little bit at the beginning on our background with AI, and I definitely was in the camp of will we lose all human creativity as like one of the things stopping me. I really did think it was going to be something really techie, and I remember when our team started using ChatGPT, my first thought was, I can't code, so I won't be able to use it. I do actually think some of the barriers on here are valid. So for example, is it secure is one that you do have to pay attention to. And I'm going to give some hints and tips about that as well. Too expensive, all of the tools I'm going to show you are free, or actually if you want to, there are always paid versions of them and they're not too expensive at all. And then the will it take my job? I know that can be a point of like, so much of our work is being automated. At SpacetoCo, part of that, the tool we've built is actually doing stuff that humans used to do. So, for example, invoicing, chasing invoices. But we always take the perspective that that frees you up to do the work that you really want to get to, that's more based on building relationships and creating opportunities rather than just transacting with people. And I think that kind of goes the same for AI. So it moves your work to being the really high value work that only humans can do. And I think a really nice description of AI is as a co-pilot. So don't think it as a replacement, but think of it as a co-pilot. So it can get you started quicker on tasks. It can actually improve how you communicate. It can do some of the boring bits. It can check things. It can summarize things, and it can help you find things. So all of this is like super useful, particularly when we dive into some of the tasks that it can help us with for community venues. The other thing is in terms of that idea of like, does it take away our creativity, which is something that's important to me in particular. if I'm starting a piece of work, like I have to, write a template for someone to use, like an email reach out template, I would typically always start that on Google anyway and say, give me some examples of this. I think the difference with Google and say a ChatGPT is that it just gives you a much more personalized recommendation. So in that sense, I don't actually think it's that scary in terms of, doing all the work for us. And you're probably already using it. So AI is kind of woven into so much of what we're used to using anyway. So pretty much all the Google tools, especially Google Maps, are very AI driven. If you have a facial recognition thing on your phone, that's AI. All your virtual assistants are AI. Chatbots that you might interact with on various retail sites use AI. Your banking app uses a huge amount of AI to move money between different accounts so quickly. And of course, whenever you go on social media, there's algorithms and AI behind the scenes, hopefully presenting you with relevant ads, sometimes not. So as I said, what I'm going to do is present as many examples of how you can use AI to save yourself time with no techie skills required, that are free and with some relevant use cases. So I'm going to crack on. And I've got, I think, 6 broad topics. So the first one I'm going to start with is how AI can help you come up with ideas. And I'm just going to share my screen so you can see what I'm doing here. And so the first tool I'm going to use is ChatGPT. And if you haven't seen it, it's kind of like, it's just like a Google search engine, except instead of bringing up results, it's actually going to generate text. And that's why ChatGPT is probably the most famous of what's called generative AI, as in it's artificial intelligence that can write stuff or create stuff for you. And to use it, you just basically talk to it like you would a chatbot or talk to a human. It's very good at natural language queries, which means you don't have to sort of like write something technical for it to, like an algorithm for it to do anything for you. So in this example, I'm going to get ChatGPT to generate a list of fundraising activities. And this can be a nice starting point if you're having like a project meeting to understand like what are the, in 2024, what activities can we do to raise money? And so what it's going to do is it's reading heaps and heaps and heaps of information, and it's coming up with like, a top 20. So this is where it can, not all of these will be good ideas, but suddenly it's giving you some ones to start from. And you can use this as a basis for discussion, or you could use this to sort of take out to your community and say, which of these would you like to get involved in? You can also give it feedback. So you can say things like, I'd like another 10, please. And it will go and keep generating more information to give you more ideas. And I'll show you some other examples of where you can give it feedback as well. So another example of where it can be really, really helpful is if you have like a Facebook page and you're continually kind of, I've got to come up with an idea for what to post, or I want to come up with a plan. What you can do is actually just get ChatGPT to give you an idea for a posting plan that's relevant to community centres. So in this example, I'm going to ask it to give me ideas for a social media post plan to promote. I've put the specific community centre in, one of the centres we work with in Auckland, and it's going to give you a posting plan that can just generate some ideas for the types of stuff you could share to keep your audience engaged. So that's giving you a 7-day plan, but you could tell it, give me can you give me a 30-day plan? And it will go and give you a week 1, week 2, week 3, and give you even more ideas. So I think that's, especially if you're wanting to engage with social media, but the idea of just coming up with a social media plan is just too much effort. I think there's heaps of like nice little ideas in here that could really kind of get you started with it. The other thing that ChatGPT can do is just really silly fun stuff. And if you have the time, I encourage you just to have a play with it. But let's say, for example, you wanted to, this was one I was playing with, so write a pitch for a sitcom set in a Greyland Community Centre and then featuring the names of your team. It will basically write that for you. It will be, it may or may not be good quality, but this is an idea of how, in terms of like engaging with people or getting it to do really fun things, you can get it to write a poem about your community centre. You can get it to write a recipe for community engagement, anything like that could be like a fun thing that you can post out on social media or just have a laugh with your community about. I think there's just so much actual joy in it, getting to do these fun things. So that's coming up with ideas. I'll just go back to my presentation. So we can see the next one. So before I go on, you're probably thinking, hopefully that's given you some food for thought, but also just be careful. So AI is still in development. So that version of ChatGPT is only using data on the internet that was there until 2021. So if you ask it to say, look for information that would only be known since 2021, for example, news events that happened since then, it doesn't know about. Secondly, check the information. Like if it's something that you're looking for statistics or data or facts, it's a starting point, but you need to check it because there's no guarantee that it's going to be accurate. The third thing is just be aware of bias. So it reflects back what's already on the internet. So I'm going to do an example later where we can do some image generation. If you ask it to create an image of a typical IT software development team, it's going to basically create a picture of some white dudes in their 20s. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it is a bias, and it's going to reflect what it sees on the internet. Another example is Alexa was asked the other day what time the World Cup match is on, and it said there is no World Cup match because it basically didn't recognise the Women's World Cup. So there is still a lot of issues with it. And thirdly, if you're using in particular a free version of ChatGPT, it uses the information you're putting in those prompts. It's not sharing them more widely, but it's using them. So don't put in people's personal details, don't put in confidential information that if you wouldn't email it to someone outside your team, don't put it in ChatGPT. So just be aware of that before I go on. So the next batch of ideas is around improving and summarizing text. So the first one's really is quite basic, but I actually have only just started using this tool, and I find it really helpful. So again, I'm just going to share my screen. How do I get back to the screen share? Here we go. Right, so the next one is here we go. This is another free tool called Grammarly. Some of you have probably heard of it because it's quite well used. But I didn't realise just how much the free tool actually does. So it doesn't just do spelling and grammar, which is native in most kind of text or word processing tools like Word or Google Sheets. But it will also help you with your grammar as well. So if English isn't your first language, or text and writing isn't your bag, actually this tool is super helpful for correcting that and giving you really good suggestions for how to improve text. And it just sits, it's basically, once you've got it, you install it on your computer and it will actually work with you on any of your apps. So this is it being used in Google Sheets. It would be the same in Word, I think. But if you also, use tools like Slack, it also pops up there as well. So basically anywhere where you're writing text, it can give you suggestions, even just on the free basic plan. It can really help your writing. So I think that's a great example. Another kind of task that can take up a lot of time is summarizing documents. So say, for example, you've had to create a report and you want to write an email summary to send out to your board team or your senior management team. And the idea of summarizing a 20-page report just fills you with dread. There is a really great tool called Chat PDF. And I'm just going to quickly show you how you use this. So this is where you have a PDF document. So let me quickly move this over. So I'm just going to move, this is an annual report for a British community centre that was publicly available on the internet. So what it's going to do is it's quickly looking at the document, and then you can basically tell this tool to do certain tasks. So I'm going to ask it to summarise this document. And it is, if I move this across, you can see there, it's giving you a basic summary of the document that you could basically just drop straight into an email before you send a copy of this document to people. So that's, really cut down the time to do that task. But it can also, if you're reading a different document and you just quickly want to find some information, you can give it questions and it will actually find it in the document. So, and you can do this in natural language. So I'm going to ask it, what was the income from venue hire in this annual report? And it will give you the answer, and then it will tell you the text and the where it is on the page, so you can go and verify that information, and we can see there that that's where it's put it. So that's super useful if you've got some big reports, some big readings, lots of reading to do, and you want to use this as a way to get quickly to the information you need, or to summarize it so that you can share it with someone else. This was one of the ones that I had never seen before researching this, and I'm going to use it all the time because it's super handy. So another thing you can do with text is, I'm just copying out the prompt here, is use it to improve something. So if you've already written a piece of text, so for example, I've got an event description for an event that might be happening at a community venue, I'm going to just basically ask ChatGPT to improve it. So what I've put in the prompt here is improve this event description to make it more succinct and engaging. And then in sort of like the quotation marks, I've put the text, the original text. And so what it's doing is it has made it more succinct and it's rewritten it. And again, you can give it feedback. So you can say stuff like, thanks, can you turn it into some bullet points? So if we want to share it via bullet points rather than a paragraph of text, it's going to give you the bullets. Now, that might be good. That might be something you want to tweak. But again, it's really, really quickly getting you to the next task that you need to do with promoting this event. This is another thing that I now use all the time as in marketing, especially like promoting events like this. I often need to write emails and email subject lines, and I just sometimes feel a bit brain dead. So I'm now going to ask it to give me 10 subject line ideas to promote this event in an email. And again, I've just popped the text in here for the original thing. And it's just given me 10 ideas, which some of them will be good, some of them won't, but that's just saved me having to think of the subject line idea, and it's given me some nice engaging ideas. So that again is like a shortcut to thinking up stuff that sometimes you just don't have the brain power to do it, and it's getting you there quicker. The last thing I'm going to show you for promoting events, again, is useful, particularly if you're working with a more international community, is I'm now going to get it to translate it. So I've asked it to translate it into Spanish. You might want to get, I can't validate whether this is correct or not, but it's certainly something that you could get, a native language speaker just to read over and maybe correct, rather than having to ask someone to translate it from scratch for you. So that's 3 really quick things you can do to help you with promoting events and sort of building all the content that you need to promote your events, your programming at your centre. And you could see how you could use this to rewrite a piece of copy for, rewrite this for a Facebook post, rewrite this for an email, rewrite this for a blog post. And quickly take one piece of content and use it over and over again. Next one I'm going to show you is one that actually surprised me. So this is a tool called Inksprout. I'd never heard of it before, but I know that probably what a lot of people do when they're sharing things on Facebook is you might actually be sharing links to interesting things. So maybe you found a news article that's relevant for your community. Maybe it's a something on the council main website that you want to share. This tool, I've just copied and pasted a link to a news article I found interesting. And what this tool does is it instantly creates a summary of the article. So there's the link. And then here, sorry, I'm going to move this. It's really, really quickly given a quick summary. So I haven't had to write any of that going, to tell people why they should read it. It's just written that summary for it. And that's just a Google Chrome extension that knows when you're in Facebook and you're about to share a link, it pops up with that. Do you want me to create a summary? And it's just done it for me. So again, another little hack when you're sharing content and you want to quickly write text. Right, so the next thing I'm going to share, if I just go back to the presentation, is getting AI to basically start a first draft for you. So this is where we can get it to write an email, formal letter. So I'm just going to show you a couple of examples here. So in this one, we're going to start actually in Gmail. And we're going to use that Grammarly tool again, but this time in a different way. So in this one, I'm going to use Grammarly's kind of version of ChatGPT to quickly write me an email draft that I can get started with. So here, it looks a bit like this. So it's because it's already installed on my laptop, it knows I'm in an email, and it's just got this little button here. And then I'm going to say, can you write an email asking for volunteers for our annual hall working bee day on September the 5th? And it basically has written a first draft of that email. So, hi everyone, hope you're find you well. That's a pretty decent first draft. You can then go and tweak it, or you can improve the prompt and give it more information in the prompt so that it will give you a better response. But that's just a really quick way that it can get you started with that first draft. Again, if English is not your first language, this is such a quick way to get an email written or a first draft of something that can just be tweaked. Or if you really don't like writing things, it's so much quicker. The next thing I'm going to do is a more formal letter. So this is maybe where you need to write something that's a bit more formal than an email. So I'm going to go back into ChatGPT. And in this example, we've maybe got one of our hirers who just refuses to understand the parking regulations outside. So I'm saying to ChatGPT, can you write a formal and polite letter asking the name of the person to stop using the staff car parking when he uses a community centre? You don't have to use the person's real name. This is a fake person. And then basically it's getting you started with writing that letter. You might have a quick read of that and decide it's maybe too long or too formal. I can also see that it's instantly assumed that we're in the States and not in New Zealand or Australia. So then I'm just going to give it some feedback and just say, can you make it 50% shorter and the address is in New Zealand? And you can see there, it's completely changed that address format. And it has reduced the size by 50%. Yeah, another nice way that you can really, really quickly generate some text that isn't the most fun task to do. This one is a little bit of a different example. So this is where I'm going to use a combination of Facebook and ChatGPT. So in this example, this is the Facebook page of one of our lovely hosts here in Auckland, and one of the things with communities is often you need to engage them and tell them about what's going on through different channels. And this is a centre that has a really, really great Facebook feed. They're always communicating and sharing interesting information. But this could also just be really quickly turned into an email mailer for people on their mailing list. as opposed to just the people who are on their Facebook page. So what I did was I really quickly copied and pasted the text from the Facebook posts. And then what I'm going to do is, again, I'll start a new chat on Facebook, ChatGPT. And then here's one I made earlier because I copied and pasted all the text before into a different thing. And this is just the basic copy from those posts. So, and all I'm saying is create an email newsletter summary from these Facebook posts, and then quote marks, and then all the copy from the posts. And that is going to reformat it. And again, some of it's a bit silly and you probably want to reword it, but it has literally summarized all of those posts into a nice email thing. And we all like emojis. So there's it rewritten with some emojis in it as well. So that is how you can use AI to do a first draft. And then let's go back to the presentation. We've got 2 more to go through. So this one is, 3 more to get through. So I might have to speed up a bit. The next one is generating a new document from scratch. So the examples before were where you've got some text and you wanted to improve it. This is where you can literally get it to create something totally new from scratch. And there's a few different tools I'm going to show you here. So the first one is writing an annual report. So this is Google Sheets, and Google Sheets, if you sign up to their, if you're part of, if you use Google or the Google suite, you can actually sign up to this as a beta. It should offer you a beta version of this. So if you click here, you see it's a blank document and call it Help Me Write. And then again, just like ChatGPT, we're going to write a prompt in here. So in this one, I'm going to say, can you write an annual report for a community centre? And obviously it doesn't know any information about your community centre, but what it is going to do is it's going to format the document with some basic headers, a few paragraph starters, so that when you're writing, you're not starting from absolute scratch blank page. You've got something to go from. So you can just insert this into the document and you can get started straight away. Another example is in Google Sheets. So in this example, I'm going to go in and create a new Google Sheet. And I know that, sorry, if you use Microsoft, the tool for this is called Copilot, and I think it will be available very soon if you use the kind of Microsoft 365. But I'm just showing you the Google Sheets because that's what we use. And it has a similar prompting thing. So this is great if you just wanted to quickly get you started on like creating like a basic template for something. So in this one, I'm going to ask it to create a volunteer availability rota for the month of September 2023. Volunteer custodians are Julie, Derek, and Paulina. And so what it's going to do is hopefully just create a template that we can get started from, and this can, save you 5-10 minutes of time. Now it's put some notes in that it's just made up, but basically you could instantly send this to Julie, Derek, and Paulina and say, can you update your availability? And suddenly this is now available to be, used and updated by that team. The next one is for presentations. So if any of you have done our digital marketing course for community centres, you'll know that I am a huge fan of Canva. And if you're a non-for-profit, Canva is free. It's an absolutely incredible tool that, again, saves you heaps of time because of all the free templates that are available. But here's one where you can get it really, really quickly to get you started on, let's say, a report that you have to do in more of a PowerPoint style presentation. So in this one, I've opened up a completely blank presentation. I'm going to use Magic Design. And again, it's a prompt-based thing. So I'm saying, Can you give me a presentation on the benefits of volunteering on a community hall committee? So let's say you want to write something that you want to send out to the local community to try and get more people to volunteer. So let's see what it does with that. Again, this is just a starting point. It doesn't know anything about your organisation, but you can really quickly see that it's going to come up with some cool styles. If you don't like any of them, you can start again. But this is one where we already have that kind of yellow branding. But if I go for this one, it looks pretty cool. And it's getting you started. So it's already putting some shape to it. It's put a bit of text in. It's put some images that you can swap out for your own. And that's just such a quick way to get started on a document. So the next bit is, I know someone said they wanted to see a little bit more about how you can use SpacetoCo and AI. So I'll jump straight into this one. The first thing is, you've probably already guessed where this is going if you've got lots and lots of spaces, but it's really, really easy to use. If you're, let me just open up SpacetoCo. If you've got heaps and heaps of spaces, like this example account does, and you're looking to improve the long descriptions, you can go into ChatGPT and you can, if the space has been on SpacetoCo since before 2021, you can actually just put the link in. If it hasn't, you can go and copy the text in. So what I'm prompting here is create a long description for this venue in central Auckland. And I've popped the link to SpacetoCo. This one's been on since pre-2021. And if you go and have a look at the original one, this only had a very, very short description on it. So what it's done is it's created much better dynamic text that's going to improve the search results. So that was the text that it's read from, but it's also read everything else on the page. And it's built a much longer description, which is going to be much more friendly to search engines. Depending on how good quality it is with what comes up with, this is a little bit flowery and probably too long. Again, you can give it feedback and say something like, let me just copy my prompt across. Thanks, can you reduce it by about 50% and simplify the language? And it's going to redo it again. And that's much better. So it's still an improvement, but it's not quite as verbose as the first one. Some of you are probably already aware that within SpacetoCo, there's already AI built into it, and this is in particular in the messaging function and in the reviews function. So say, for example, if you want a helping hand to write a response to or send a message to someone, if you go into messages and then you see here there's this little icon for Luna, the bot. If you click in here, all you need to do is put the gist of the message in. So this guest is particularly bad at leaving the door open. So you put stop leaving the back door open in, and you can see there, it's generated a much more polite version of that you can pop straight into the chat message, or you can get it to regenerate here if you want to. Another nice place for this is the reviews, where if you've got a nice review and you want to reply, again, you can get Luna to do it for you, which will just read what's in here and create a nice review, saves you having to write it. And then the last one for how you can use SpacetoCo is actually combining one of our newest features, which is the scheduling of reports, and getting that information in a report to turn into something much more engaging and useful for your community. So some of you are probably aware that in our reports section, you can basically set up a report, and then with all the columns that you want and all the data that you want and for the time period you want. So in this example, all I've got is a bookings report that's going to give me all the bookings that are on today. And I've set the columns that I'm interested in. And then what I've done is in the scheduled reports area, I've set that to email to myself every single day. And what that's going to do is send me a nice neat email. The report's here at the bottom, and then I open it up. And then basically, this is the daily bookings in the spaces. in a neat report. However, that's not very engaging if we want to communicate this to say, hey, what's on at the centre today, or what's on this, you could use this as an email out to people, as a Facebook post. So I am going to copy this data into ChatGPT and use it for it to create a nice kind of what's on message. So if I go to, let's copy that data again. What it's done is it's put it into a really nice kind of neat format that you could easily copy and paste into an email, a Facebook post, and share that useful data in the report in a much more engaging way. So where are we? How are we doing for time? Okay, I think I'm going to get through it all. So my last ones are on how you can use AI for photos and videos. So some of these tools you may be familiar with, but I just wanted to highlight them because I personally use them all the time and I find them really, really helpful. So the first one is a very everyday tool called Google Photos. We use it for all the photo content that we have for SpacetoCo, so where we've got images that we've taken of our venues, of our team. All we do is we just make sure that we store them all in Google Photos, which is a completely free tool. But what's great about it and how it uses AI is it's so easy when we need to find a photo to search it, because it's basically going to trawl all of our photos and come back with all, I've put in the search term toys. Maybe I want to do a post about the toy library at the centre. Well, suddenly it's trawled all my photos and it's found lots of useful ones for me to share. You can also tag people. So if you want to find a particular person, I wanted to bring back all the pictures of Francine. There you go. It's going to find all the pictures of Francine, and that's just a really, really quick way to find and organise your photos. Because I know one of those tasks that can take a lot of time is, I've got to make a post about something. I need to find an image to share to make it more engaging. By putting everything in Google Photos, it's so quick and easy to find things. If you don't have the photo that you need, though, to maybe promote an event, there are now lots and lots of image generators out there. So the ChatGPT one is called DALL-E, D-A-L-L-E. Other providers like Bing use that as a base. For the free versions, you often have a limit on how many you can do, but it's not something you use all the time. So in this one, I'm going to get it to generate an image for a community pottery class. And what it's going to do is it's just going to generate that image. This is a completely unique image. You could get quite creative with this and put in loads and loads of random stuff. Now, some of them will be good, some of them won't be quite so good. But it's basically created an oil painting style image of a community pottery class. So if you wanted to change that to maybe be a different style, like anime, it will do that as well. I'd be careful with using it for more photo. It will do photorealistic ones, but the faces usually look very, very creepy. So it's great for doing more kind of stylized imagery that you can use for socials or sharing. And you can give it, heaps more prompts and be more specific. And the very last one is quite a fun one, but often, again, another thing that people love to see is like memes that come out of different Facebook pages. And so you can actually use this quite cool tool called Super Meme to generate memes that are specific to your venue or something your community care about or something you're trying to communicate. So again, if we take the example of someone's leaving a door open at your centre, you can get it to generate memes that communicate this in more of a fun and engaging way. So some of them may be appropriate, some of them may not be, but basically and you can change the text if you want, but it's going to generate all of these memes for you to help you. This is something you could then use in a host announcement. You could pop on your Facebook page, and is a really quick way to generate something fun for your venue. So I think that is everything I wanted to cover. Does anyone have? I'm just going to pop up this presentation again and just check I've covered everything. Yeah, so does anyone have any questions, any examples, any use cases that you'd like me to try and see if we can find an answer to using all of those different tools?
While everyone's typing up their questions on the chat, I've got a question actually, Elle. So you mentioned in the beginning that AI is useful to be a co-pilot and stuff, and you mentioned like what are like high value sort of human things that AI can't do. Can you let us know that what do you think those high level human things AI can't do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think it's just about being really thinking about what it is you want to achieve with what it's creating. So the thing, I was quite mindful in all the examples I gave, that was more around either taking information that already exists and repurposing it so you don't have to spend time changing it, or where it's a very admin-y task. So it's like logistics, what's going on, stop doing something, start doing something. If you want to create a piece of content that really truly engages or connects with people, or that, I think that has to come from you. So if you want to do something that is going to actually connect with people, I don't think I'd necessarily use ChatGPT for that. But I think for anything admin-y, where it's I've just got to get a thing done, I've got to write something quickly, and it's more about sharing information, I think this is a good way to do it, or summarizing information, or using data that's in one format and turning it into another. I think it's a good way to do that.
Awesome. And another question was, for you personally, you said that you've started using a lot of AI kind of apps. How has it transformed your workflow? Because I don't know if you've started using it since you've researched it all or whatever, but do you have any kind of like personal examples of how, like, what have you been freed up to do since using it?
I think the main things I use it for is I will often write a draft of something and then I'll pop it into ChatGPT and say, shorten it. So often I write too much and it's too flowery, or it's just like I'm repeating myself. And that's probably the number one thing I do all the time, is shorten it, make it more articulate, make it more succinct, put this into bullet points. So that's really helpful, particularly when a lot of my job is emailing people. I do use it to generate ideas. So give particularly for subject lines for emails, that's one I've used quite a lot. It just especially if I'm feeling brain dead, it's a great way to do that. And I have also used the image generation just for making reports more engaging. I can see a question come in from Carms. So I think for the wanting to do something that connects with people, it's a great way to generate ideas. So if you're looking for like a writing prompt, or a list of like things you could write about that are your personal experience that you could sort of share with people, I think it's a great way to sort of like get 10-20 ideas as a starting point. It would be a good way to use it, but actually doing that writing and telling your story, or something that is actually going to be maybe a bit more meaningful than some of the examples I've shared, I probably wouldn't use it to do that. And then English as a second language. Anything you write, you can just pop into that chat tool or use a Grammarly tool, and it will tell you how to improve that text or rewrite it for you. So the rewrite thing is such a great prompt. So rewrite this in a more formal way, or rewrite this so it's more articulate. So yeah, that's the way I'd use it. And thank you, Cheryl. It was really fun to research. And yeah, ChatGPT to respond, like those kind of like those gnarly tasks where you're like, I am busy. I do not want to have to think about the politest way to phrase this. Just write a couple of lines and then get either Luna or ChatGPT to turn it into something more polite, or maybe more diplomatic. Is a great use case for it, especially when those things come up more often than we'd like.
I think it's kind of a funny example because as Cheryl was just putting that question, like,
how many have I written where I'm glad I either slept on it or just didn't send it. This is a great way for not having to sleep on it. This is like write down what you want to say and then get it to turn it into something that's maybe more diplomatic.
Yeah, I would have asked somebody, like if I was in like an office situation, I would probably ask them, say, hey, what should I say? But this is like a great example of like AI being a co-pilot, because not this kind of co-worker to say, hey, what should I say for this situation?
Yeah. I think just another example is just have fun with it. Like, I know within SpacetoCo, I've seen people writing, we've had poems about various subjects getting written by ChatGPT. There was a ridiculous chain of very, very floral, overly formal letters back and forth about a very tiny thing, which was quite funny to read.
Good question.
Oh, another question comes. Have you had experience with something that's obviously AI generated and it put you off? I think when the other benefit of actually using tools like this is you understand what it is it's generating, and then you can see, you can kind of recognize it across the internet. So when I was researching this topic, because I've now used AI for a bit, I really quickly saw stuff that I don't actually think you should generate with AI, which is like whole long articles of stuff that's purporting to be useful that I can see has just been generated. And I immediately sort of saw that and thought, no, I'm not going to trust that source, because I can tell, just gut feel, that that's been generated by something. So if you're writing something that requires expertise and research, maybe get it to generate a structure or starting point, but don't let it write it for you, because I think it does become quite clear after a while.
I think that's like the whole deducing thing as well. Like that's a high level human thing to do, is like you should really check your sources as well. And when using ChatGPT and stuff, some things that they've generated, it's generated was like wrong as well, some of the facts. So it's really good for you to, even if you do use it, to look it up as well, make sure that everything's good.
Yeah, I think there's the phrase is like, you can delegate to it, but don't abdicate your responsibility, right? So you're still accountable for the information you're sharing, so you've got to check stuff. It's not that smart yet.
Nice. Thank you so much, Al. That was really, really insightful, and just actually takes away fear of using it. So hopefully you guys found it very helpful. A lot of people have already said in the chat that they've found AI helpful, and so thank you so much for your time. And thank you for everyone for joining us as well. Also for your time. It's a good hour of just like great information. So before we end and wrap up, we would like to invite you to join the Community Venues Facebook group. If you want to keep connecting with people, or just kind of ask questions that are community venue specific, this is a great way to connect with people and to ask for advice. So it's for community venues run by community venues. So just check on that link, facebook.com/group/community venues, and click join, and there's a little form that you have to fill in. The next session for September is a more in-depth session on placemaking. So this has been quite a big, we had a session on placemaking before, but a lot of people have been talking about it still. And so I don't think you can ever get enough of this really awesome topic. It's very community venues centric. So please join us on the 27th of September. And we'll also be sending out a recording of the session and our slides through the post-event email. So have a look at that. But other than that, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your afternoon or morning or wherever you are. Yeah, and enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting.